Okay, so welcome back to my channel. Okay, this is Love, Lies, and Records, Season 1, Episode 3. So, a lot happened in this episode. So, of course, last week's episode left off with them realizing that Lucy had left the house and she had left her cell phone. So, this episode kind of picks up with kind of everybody is out, kind of scouring the city, trying to find out where she went, what happened to her, what's going on with her. And so, of course, the Kate and Rob, they went to her friend's house, and they were able to get into her kind of social media account to find a name that gives them some kind of idea of who she may be with. And so, with that, they were able to go to the police station to get to watch the CCTV. They saw her leaving the house. They saw her getting into a car. They were able to get the license plate for the car. The thing is, they traced it to a 45-year-old man. So, of course, all of this stuff was going through their mind. Like, oh my God, it's a pedophile. Somebody snatched our child to do God knows what with her. They get to the house. Police are already there. And it's actually the father of the boy that she had snuck out to hang out with. She had gone to a concert with his 16-year-old son. And, of course, she didn't say anything, which led to this whole all this drama. And so, of course, they sent police to pick them up. He's looking terrified. He's like, I don't know what is going on. It's unclear whether or not he knew she snuck out, but it was just an awkward situation. So they're being put in the back of the police car. They get home, and so you have Jamie and Tom, Liam, and Liam's girlfriend. They're all sitting in the living room, kind of like Tom is basically kind of rubbing it in. The brother, it's like, oh, basically your ass is going to get it. You're done, right? And so Liam called himself, trying to give her advice. Like, if I was you, I would just go to bed, and hopefully by the morning they would have calmed down some. But no, that was a no go, because as soon as he said that, they walked in the door, basically told all the rest of them to get out. And they basically tore into her. Like, what were you thinking? What is going on? What's going on with you? Why would you do this? And it was, to a certain extent, it was a cry for attention. And that was basically the sum of it all. It was just the cry for attention. She felt like, she's going through that awkward teenage phase where she doesn't feel like she's as pretty as the other girls. She doesn't feel like she's as popular as the other girls. She doesn't feel like she is as likable or, as accepted as the other girls. And this one guy, he liked her post. He liked her videos. And that is basically what, prompted her to kind of continue communicating with him and actually sneaking out of the house to meet with this guy, because she felt like he was giving her the attention that she felt like she was starved of. And of course, while they were furious, they're also all these emotions are running through them, because their parents, they're terrified. Like, their daughter, she's just, it's just the things that teenagers do, and they don't really understand they don't always understand the consequences of their actions. So while these police officers could have been out possibly saving someone's life, or they could have been at home with their own families, they're all running the streets trying to find her. So, girl, okay. So the next day, Kate and Jamie are walking into the office, and they're basically just coming down off the events of the previous evening. Basically just trying to talk through what happened. And, that was pretty much their conversation. And so they get into the office. Talia is updating the board. I guess that's her job. She updates the board to let them know, what they have going on for that day as far as marriages, deaths, and births. And she saw that the Amir wedding, I believe, was on the board, and she's like, "Who told you to put that on the board?" And I guess Judy gave the green light to go ahead with the service. And so while they're talking, Anna sits down at her computer and opens her open her email to see what's what, and the video pops up of Kate and Rick in the records room. And they realized that it had been CC'd to everyone in the office. So basically, in the previous episode where Judy threatened to release the video, and Kate was like, just release it, Judy called her bluff and went on and released the video to the entirety of the office, including their supervisor, Matt. I couldn't, for whatever reason, in the last 2 videos, I couldn't remember his name. His name is Matthew. So, of course, Rick and Kate like, oh my God, stop it. And it's like, I'm trying to, but I don't know how to close it. Jamie is seeing the video like, oh my God, when does that happen? I mean, it was just a whole big situation. Kate and Rick are flustered, as you can imagine, and it's just like it was just, you could tell it was just a really awkward situation. So while all this was going on, Judy bitch walks in like, oh, good morning, like, oh, what's going on? Like, she don't know what the hell she did, like, what's going on, right? And so they already know, I think that at this point they already know it was Judy that no, because they didn't, at that point they didn't know the recording existed. So yeah, she walks in, and Judy and to kind of change the subject, Kate asks Judy, why did you put the Amir Christine wedding on the board? You know, there's this, that, and the third. Judy's like, immigration, you know, all that is all clear. They got the all clear, so I don't see what the problem is. Okay, so next you flash to Matthew, who's in a meeting, and they're basically talking about the superintendent position, and because Kate had turned it down, at this point, obviously he doesn't know that it's because she's been blackmailed, and so they're trying to like talk things through. And so he received a text, and I think he received an email during this meeting, and for whatever reason he clicks on this video. I'm like, who clicks on a video in a meeting? And it's the video. So he opens the video, and not only does he see it, his supervisor, his boss see it. I mean, the video was loud as hell. So even if you can't see it, you can still hear what's going on. And so he's flustered. He's embarrassed. He's like, what the hell is going on in this office? So he eventually gets back to Kate. I think she was doing a record search. Someone wanted to get a copy of their original, the long birth certificate, and so she was doing a record search, and she walked by and she see that Judy is talking to Matt like, oh my God, I'm just like, this bitch is a piece of work. Like, she's so shocked, and I'm just, oh my goodness, and this, that, and the third. And so Matt asked to meet with Rick and Kate. And Kate basically said, you know, I'm doing a record search right now, but I will, you know, as soon as I'm done, I will come by and, of course, talk to you. So after she's done that whole situation, she's walking through the hall. Rick has already gone in to meet with Matthew. He's coming out, and she was like, what? She was like, okay, so what happened? And basically, he was suspended. Like, after, you know, after the end of that particular day, he would be suspended to further notice. And so she's like, almost hyperventilating, like, oh my God, what is he going to do? What is he going to say to me? Because she is the supervisor, right? So you would think that she would get the harsher punishment, right? So she walks into the office, and Matt is like, what can you explain this to me? And so he flips his laptop around, and it's not playing, but, you know, the video is up, but it's not playing. And so she's like, you know, she's basically said it's self-explanatory. You know, I don't know what else that I could say. And Matt informs her that Rick told him that Judy was blackmailing her for the superintendent position. And basically, Kate was like, you would have to ask her about that. And so eventually Matt calls Judy in. And of course, this heifer puts on like, oh my God, I'm just so shocked to think, you know, that you would think that I would do such a thing. I didn't even know about the video. I'm just amazed. And So of course, Kate didn't say anything. She basically did not any knowledge of the video. She really didn't say anything. And basically, he said he would have to think about what he was going to do, and that he would talk to them later on, and talk to him and Kate and Rick later on in the day. And so of course, Kate and Rick link up at some point in the day, because they both promised Simon that they would attend Jenny's service. And so they're leaving to attend Jenny's service. Yeah, so they're still kind of going over the events of the day. And you could tell more and more, you could tell that Rick has feelings for Kate. And you're starting to see more, a glimmer of, well, Kate may have feelings for Rick too. But at the same time, she has this 14, 15-year relationship that she has with Rob. She has a family. Like, she has more to consider. Rick doesn't really talk too much about his partner. I mean, at this point, he hasn't. At this point, he mentioned her in this episode, but you could tell that there's something between them. So they go through that whole thing, and so they're coming back to the office. They run into this drunk couple. It's an older couple. It's like every couple of years they renew their vows. It seemed like they would be a ball of fun at a party, but it seemed like they stay drunk. So they're basically, she meets them. She's like, hey, didn't you guys just renew your vows last year? And she was like, the wife was like, oh yeah, but he messed up, and so we just want to have a recommit. So they're drunk at this point, talking to them midday, right? And so, they was like, oh, we promise we'll be sober this time, and this, that, and the third. And so they go off. And so while they're walking into the office, it flashes to Rob and Ann. Ann is Rob's ex who works for immigration. So when Kate saw the Christine and Amir wedding on the board, she called Rob to see if he can reach out to his ex, Ann, who works in immigration, to kind of find out more on what is going on. And so they end up Rob and Ann ends up linking up, and they end up going to Kate's office. So remember, this is all on the heels of this video being released. So I can imagine how awkward it is after that whole situation. And so Judy, bitch, is over there trying to make small talk with Rob, and how are things going, and she, and this is where he basically divulged where he works, the actual precinct where he works. And so that's going to come into play later on in the episode. And so, of course, Jamie walks in and he sees Judy over there talking to Rob. And he's like, oh, God, I need to get over here and find out what's what. So he kind of walks over, and this is making small talk with Rob. And I think he may have asked her about Lucy, how Lucy was doing this, how everything, was going on with that. So, of course, Kate arrives. And, of course, she's taken aback because she wasn't expecting him to come to the office that day, especially with Ann. So she's like, oh, hi. So, of course, she's kind of nervous because she don't know what's been said, how long Rob and Ann has been there. She don't know what, if anything has been said. So she's kind of like, yeah, so what are you doing here? What's going on? And so he said, yeah, you called me. I called Ann about the immigration. And so they both came down to talk to her about Christine and Amir. So they go and wait in Kate's office, and Judy walks over, and she's like, well, how was the service? How was the funeral? She said it wasn't the funeral, it was a service. And then Judy asked, okay, so just quickly go back. Shortly before Kate and Rick left for the service, Talia walked up to her and said that, you told me to let you know the next time a same-sex marriage came up. And so it did. And so at that time, Kate had assigned it to Judy. And so here where Judy asked her, why would you assign me to this same-sex marriage? And she was basically calling her out for not performing these, marriages, and basically saying without saying that she thought she was homophobic. And Judy is like, no, I'm not homophobic, and I'm not gonna. And the only reason I didn't perform the last service is because I was dealing with that complaint. Like, excuse, right? And so Kate basically said that if me and Rick are fired or suspended, then you're the only person that's going to be left to perform it anyway. And so basically going back and forth, Judy basically said, you know what? I hope Matt wakes up and eventually fires the both of you. And Kate basically let her know, look, Judy, regardless of what happens to me, you're not going to get the job. You're never going to get the job. They're most likely going to they're most likely going to go outside to bring somebody in. You are never going to be the superintendent. And basically cracked her. She's standing there with the stupid look on her face. So fast forward, Kate gets into the office with Rob and Ann, and they're basically comparing notes. They eventually decide to go back to Christine's house to kind of find out whatever they can find out. They run into Christine. Well, at least Rob runs into Christine. And so they realize that Christine is no longer pregnant. Okay. Because the whole point of them trying to rush this marriage is that because they wanted to get married before the baby was born. So they see that Christine is no longer pregnant. And so immigration, who they go in and do the house check or whatever, and realize that, okay, so there's some things have changed about this house. The photos of you in the mirror that used to be all over this house, where are these photos? It was just a sanitized house. It didn't look, it was a house, not a home. The home that immigration had gone into. So they realized this was just a house that they rent to for fake marriages. So, just to pass just to dot their I's and make sure all the T's are crossed. So when the checks come, it looks like these people are an actual couple. And so what eventually happens is Kate basically calls back to the office because Christine basically said that, oh, the baby's at the hospital. And they're like, really? Okay, so when did you give birth? Oh, a few days ago. So basically, they're not buying what she's selling. Kate calls the office and asks him to do a background check. To see who is giving birth, if there's by that name, by the last name, either Christina's last name or Amir's last name, in the last few days. And of course, she knew that nothing was going to come up, but she made that phone call basically sitting next to Christine, because you can see Christine getting uncomfortable because she know the jig is up. Girl, they got you. No, just stop. And so Anne is doing a search, and she found, I don't know if it was Anne doing a search or Rob doing a search. He finds the missing photos from the picture frames. He's like, okay, these are under a bed in the bag somewhere. And then as he's flipping through, he finds a picture of Eva. Eva is the lady that was pulled out of the lake. That Laura Resnick, that's her name. I couldn't think of her name. The one who initially identified in the morgue. So that was Eva. So they saw Eva being paired with different people. And so they realized that Eva had gotten married to a different person every other year. And these scam marriages, basically. And so Rob ended up showing Christine a picture of Eva in the morgue. And of course she lost it. She's like, oh my God. She's terrified. You can see that she's terrified. She's gotten herself into a situation. She doesn't know how to get out of it. And so I think at the end of that, Christina agreed to help them. And so at this time, Amir is back at the registrar's office, and Anna and Jamie is kind of showing him around, showing them the different rooms that they can have the ceremony in, and give them like pricing information. Even though at this point they know it's some BS, but of course they still have to play along because they don't want them to know. Because the whole point is to catch them in the act so that they can then be arrested, so the Rock can then arrest them. So they went through the motions. Okay, so after the whole meeting with Christine, Kate goes back to the office. Now, while Kate is talking to Jamie about his research as far as births and whatever research he can find on these Amir and this whole Amir and Christine and the whole group, Laura is actually in the office with Rick registering Eva's death. And so it wasn't until Laura said that he's registering his friend, Laura said she was registering her friend, he was kind of asking her questions, and said no, she was murdered, she was pulled out of the lake. He made the connection. And so he said, oh, well, give me a minute. And then he went out and kind of had a few words with Kate. And then Kate realized, okay, Laura was there, and this, that, and third. Okay. And so Laura went in and she had a few words with Eva. She went through they went on and registered, and basically they go through the process, have her verify the information. So at some point, Judy walks over and tells Kate that Matthew wants to talk to her and Brick. And so of course this is the thing that this whole thing they've been dreading, right? Because they didn't know what was going to happen. If they were going to have a job by the end of the day, still have a job by the end of the day. So while Rick is finishing up with Laura, Kate kind of pops her head in and basically said that, Rick wants to talk to us. And so they both kind of looking at each other kind of crazy, they finish up. He finishes up with Laura, and then they go to meet with Matt. And basically Matt, you can tell he really likes Kate. He really do, and he's really fighting for her to get this position. And so he basically said that they're not going to be suspended, basically, but going forward they can't work together anymore. And he basically offered her the superintendent position again. Now, the thing that Judy didn't count on is that, okay, you've already shown your hand. So at this point, you really don't have anything over her at this point, really. because the cat's out of the bag, the boss already knows, and he still wants her to get the position. And so she accepted the position. Like, she doesn't have anything else over me. I don't have anything to lose at this point. So she went ahead and took the position. And so of course so of course they're ecstatic. They leave the office and they're high-fiving and oh my God. And they're like, I can't wait to see Judy's face. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait to see that bitch. I can't wait to see that bitch's face either. So they get into the office and she basically tells Talia to change the board back, that Judy will be performing the same sex marriage, and that her and Rick will be staying, and that she will be taking the superintendent position. And so Judy's, while they're celebrating, doing the high fives, the rest of the people in the office, Judy kind of storms out, and she storms into Matt's office, basically saying, I can't believe that you would keep her on after what they did and how it was so disrespectful and da. And basically, Matt told her that he was going to investigate the claims of blackmail. And she was like, I wouldn't know. I'm not tech savvy. I wouldn't know how to do that. And he was basically saying, that's what you want people to think. But what I am going to do is I'm going to have IT look into this. And if I find out that you had something to do with this, not only am I going to fire you, then we're going to sue your ass. We're going to make sure your ass gets prosecuted for blackmail. And so at this point, once again, Judy is standing there with her face cracked. Like, oh my God. And so he basically leaves his office and going with his date, and she's left standing there looking a fool, right? So after they feels like the weight of the world has been lifted off their shoulders, she looks at the board. It's all clear. They don't have anybody waiting. So Kate decides that she's going to head on home. And so her and Jamie, they head home. So while they're setting up for dinner, Kate looks at they have the little table by the door where they put the mail, and she sees this envelope. And so she opens the envelope, and it's basically photos that was taken that day of her and Rick on their way to and from Jenny's ceremony. And you could tell that it was intimate. There were some intimate moments where they were just a little too close and it was just not a good look. And on the back of one of the photos, it said back off. And so she pulls Jamie to the side and was like, oh my God, look at this. Jamie's like, what? And she shows him, like, oh my God, you think Judy would have done this? And she was like, well, why would Judy do this when she has something better? She actually has footage of her and Rick getting it in, right? And so they didn't say who the photos were from, but I can only assume that it's from Laura. Not Laura, what's the translator? Because the translator seemed like that was with Amir and Christine. There was one scene where she was watching them. So I'm assuming it's something to do with them, even though in this episode they haven't said where the photos come from. Because I would think that if Judy had the actual footage, she would send that instead of some photos of some, and it wasn't even photos of them being intimate with each other in the sense they were having sex. It was photos of just candid photos of them just out and about. They were just a little too close and a little too giggly, and it just would have been it was just photos that were just inappropriate. Okay, so, they after that whole thing dies down, Jamie asked her, so they sit down for dinner, and Jamie asked her, what'd you do with the photo? She said, I just put it in my drawer. And so Lucy comes downstairs, and you find out that Ted, the guy, broke up with her. Basically said that she was childish. It was like, girl, you a whole lot of drama, and he's like, I'm 16, I ain't trying to deal with all that. And so, Kate kind of moves in to console her, but she didn't want to hear it, whatever. And then Rob comes downstairs. He and Kate, because at this point Laura has gone back to the police station and basically is saying that she fears for her life, and so they have her in protective custody. And so Rob and Kate are now not Kate. Rob and Anna they're, I guess, protecting her or whatever the case may be. So he has to head back out. And of course, Kate has nerve to feel jealous. I'm like, girl, you done bumped uglies with your coworker in the records room, but she like, oh, why do you have to be with her? And why do you and Ann have to do something? I'm looking at her like, girl, have a seat. But so he basically told her that, and I met with the divorce attorney, because she found out that when she went to Rick and said she wanted to get married, he divulged that he technically didn't get divorced from his first wife, so he has to go through that whole process. And so now she's like unsure whether or not she even wants to get married. And so of course he gets frustrated and just storms out. So they leave on a bad note. They set part ways on a bad note. Okay, and then the final scene is basically an envelope that's been addressed, and Judy bitch still girl. She drops a thumb drive in an envelope addressed to Rob's precinct. So she got the information she needed to find out where he worked, so that in the event that something happened, she could just send it directly to him, and he would get the message. And then she was send it to his job to make sure that they didn't get intercepted at home. So yeah, that's basically how it ended, and yeah, a lot of stuff. So I will be back with next week's episode, and I will talk to you guys later.